Okay, today on the show, we have Monika Strand, who is a
Hello.
realtor and author from Compass, or she's with Compass in Fremont, California. So let me tell you a little bit more about Monika. Now, Monika Strand is a realtor in the San Francisco Bay Area. She is a people connector, a problem solver, strategic thinker, dream maker, and recently, and most interesting to us, a children's author. Now, her first book, which was just released, is called Welcome Home. And it came to life after Monika couldn't find the perfect gift to give her buyers' children on closing day. So she created one. Now, today, her vision is for realtors who value client relationship. Building is essential to growing their business and gifting this book, Welcome Home, to their clients who have children. Monika, oh, and by the way, everyone can visit Monika. You can check out the book for children and everything related to Monika at monikastrand.com. That's Monika. So Monika with a K, Strand, Strand.com. Monika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on. And also please follow Monika on Instagram at Monika Strand as well. Again, Monika with a K. Before we get to the children's book, which is so exciting because I think I remember moving as a child, and I remember what a scary experience that was for me.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get to that. But before we get there, I would love to start all the way at the beginning and of your sort of career and how you even got into real estate. So tell us how you got here.
Wow. Well, I go all the way back to when I was 15. I used to work at City of San Carlos in the finance department, where I learned a lot about money and keeping things in check and taking care of a lot of tasks. And I was kind of like the girl Friday. People probably don't even know what that is anymore, but I was a high school student. And I also was a ballerina, and I used to teach adults and little kids. And I loved teaching little kids. That was like such a passion of mine. They were 3 to 5 year olds running around in their little outfits. But anyway, from there, I ended up opening a dance clothing store when I was 19. And I was the youngest businesswoman in San Carlos at the time. I got to go back to my job at City Hall and say, hey, I want my business license. And they were all cheering me on. And it was
That's amazing. Cool. You opened a store at 19. Yeah. Nobody does that.
I was so in love with ballet, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I didn't go away to college and waste my dad's money. I decided I'm going to stay local, keep doing ballet, but I knew I loved business. So I just jumped right in. And then I went to night classes at a community college. So
sure.
Anyway, that's what I was doing. But a few years fast forward, I got engaged. And everything changes in life when you get engaged.
Yes.
So I ended up moving to the Los Angeles area, where my husband was working in the movie industry. And ultimately, after we ended up opening a coffee house, and it was such a fun community space. We helped everyone from homeless to famous, literally. I mean, one of my favorite clients was a homeless guy. He would come in and I would just give him free coffee. And one day he came in and he said, no coffee today. And he threw a $20 bill in my tip jar. And I literally just started crying. I was like, wow, I built community for this guy, and so community's always been a very important part of my life. But anyway, that was a cool place. I would give business advice to famous people. I don't need to ramble off names, but quite a few. I would come in and come hang with us. And then after we had our child and there was an earthquake down there, we decided to move back to the San Francisco Bay Area, where we had 4 grandparents that gave us free babysitting.
Yes.
Anyone who has kids knows it was hard. We had our coffee house and we would bring our daughter, and anyway, we moved back to the Bay Area. So what ended up happening is we started a national fundraising company with coffee, our backbone from previous, but this time my husband roasted it, and we did sales and marketing, and I did all the packaging, custom labels for our schools to raise money. And most of our clients were music programs. So we helped groups all over the country raise money. And it was an amazing adventure. We did it for about 16, 17 years. And then our
Wow.
kids grew up and we decided we wanted to go into some other things. So I decided to jump into real estate. I took my first real estate class right out of high school and I didn't jump into it. Sometimes I wonder what would have been different if I did.
Well, you've
But
done so many other things.
yeah, so all the things I've done kind of brought me to real estate. I'm really good with people. I love community. I love caring about people and their transactions and their livelihoods and how they're going to get into a house and all those things. And then my husband went back into the movie business. So he's been traveling back and forth from the Bay Area where we live now back, and he's working on just cool TV shows and movies. And so here I am in real estate, 5 years in, and constantly trying to make my own way and figure out new things to do that I can bring to the table so my clients know, like, and trust me. So that's where I am.
Yeah. Wow. That you, well, you said so much there. And I'd
Mhm.
love to, let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about the book. So the
Yeah.
book is called Welcome Home. It's a children's book. And tell us about why you wrote it, what the impetus
Yeah.
was, and what the book is, who the book is for, and why
Okay.
agents should consider buying a bunch of them
Yeah.
to give to their clients.
Well, what happened was I was helping. My niche right now is first time home buyers. I love them. Call me crazy, but I love the buyer side of the transaction. And I know everyone
Sure.
says, oh, the listing side, but I found my space with doing really fun open houses where I would let kids do events in the backyard with little bird houses and coloring
Oh
books
yeah,
and entertain them.
let's
Oh
slow
yeah,
that down. I want to
yeah.
stop. I want to pause for a moment because this is really a cool thing that Monika does. So we oftentimes have guests on the show who talk specifically about how they built their business, and
Mhm.
inevitably in many, probably most of the interviews I've done, people say open houses. So I sit open houses even if I don't have listings. I ask other agents in my office, hey, can I go to an open house for your listing? But you do something that I've never heard
Yeah.
anybody do. And I mean, we're sort of laughing about it and you're about to tell, but I thought it was one of the smartest and coolest things I've ever heard.
Oh,
So I
cool.
just wanted to make that point before we jump in so that it doesn't get
Yeah.
glossed over. Tell us about your open
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah. I think a lot of agents hate doing open houses because they think, oh, you're just waiting for people to come. I treat it more like a party. I'm hosting a party. I do not just show up with business cards. It's so boring. I can't. I bring food. During the pandemic, I had to lighten that up. I'll be honest. It kind of depressed me actually. So now we're starting to get back into the normal. So I can't wait. So I bring music. I bring food. I bring, you know, at least water or something to drink so we can chat. But I also bring stuff for the kids to stay entertained. And this is critical.
Love it.
If I'm in California, so a lot of times I'm blessed with really great weather. So I can, if it's a single family home, there's a nice backyard. I'll set up an area where the kids can do some kind of a craft. And it's not anything that'll take them too long, but long enough so that the parents will hang out and chat with me for a while. And I'm telling you, when you put love on the children, the parents just start to fall in love with you if they're the right match. Of course, you
Yeah.
can't help everybody, and I don't want to help everybody. I don't have time to say I'm the agent for everyone. I'm not. But if you have kids and you want someone who's going to care about your whole family, the doing something in the backyard with the children keeps them safe and entertained. And now
Yeah.
it gives me the opportunity to connect with the parents. And it works. It's just a nice conversational piece. And then they get to take something home. And I've had these little bird houses go home from open houses and community events. And then the parents will call me later. Hey, Monika, I drove by this house and I really would love it if you could help us buy it. I didn't even
Yeah.
have to help them look. They found the house and remembered me.
Yeah.
It's cool. It
Well,
can really work for people.
I think the birdhouse thing is so cool. So are there just the little like birdhouse kits that you buy, or how does it work?
These were just little wood birdhouses that I bought either at Michael's or Joann Fabrics. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that near you, go online and find them. And they're probably about $1, maybe a little bit more, but such a fun investment. And then I would get markers and stickers and things for them
Yeah.
to put on them. Just don't use Sharpies. Just markers that they're not going to get all over their clothes. But every time I bring out the birdhouses, the adults are always, this is amazing. This is such a nice gesture for you to have something for the kids. And now I've kind of morphed that whole idea. During the pandemic, the book was born because I just was sitting on my couch one day thinking, what else can I be doing for the kids that can really benefit and also ultimately benefit the agents, building lifetime clients? Because on key day, that shouldn't be the ending of the relationship. It should be the beginning. So
I yeah, I think absolutely I couldn't agree more. And I want to just go back to the birdhouse idea just for a moment, because
yeah,
I think it is such a brilliant idea. If we think about the psychology of it, the idea or the branding and the marketing side of it, it is, you're first of all, kids are fascinated by wildlife and animals and any especially for kids that don't have pets in the family. One
yes,
way that
yeah.
you can sort of satisfy a little bit of that urge is to have a birdhouse, right? So people, families, oftentimes at some point in most families' lives, they create a birdhouse, or they make one,
Mm-hmm.
or they want to make one, or the kids ask about it. So you're providing this opportunity to satisfy a little bit of a pet sort of urge, and also it could be a permanent thing. I know, like, birdhouses oftentimes get put up and then they stay, and
Yes.
then kids get to it's a fun, exciting experience with very little downside. And also, like you said, they get to bring that home. There's something tangible they get to
Yeah.
take with them, which they visit, 5 other open houses, those buyers, and they're probably not getting that same
Yes.
experience anywhere else. So I think that it's a very hyper specific thing. But again, having crafts, having things for children to do really does give the parent that free time to actually explore the property, knowing that the children are being, taken care of and doing something
Yes.
that's entertaining and engaging and fun.
Staying
And really,
safe.
and staying
Yep.
safe. And then
Yeah, they're in the
also
backyard.
and the idea that every time the parent looks out of their window to see the birdhouse that might be hanging up now, as they brought it home,
Yeah.
they're going to be reminded of you. And so
Oh,
what
yeah.
a wonderfully smart, and just fun activity to for children to go to an open house. Probably not that much fun, I would think, in many
Oh,
cases, but giving them these sort of
exactly.
activities
They always
makes
look so bored. Like the minute the minute they come into my open house, I bend down to their level and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much for coming to my open house today. How many houses have you seen today?" And I let them know, "Are your parents dragging you around town?" And they look at me like, "I'm so tired of this." So you've hit it on the head. It's, you come to the level of the children and the parents just open up to you. They really do.
yeah.
And the funny thing about the whole birdhouse thing, when I created the book, I let my illustrator know I'm a freak about birds and I love squirrels. And there are birds like scattered through my book. Like she drew them in different places. So I just find it kind of, the birdhouse was how I started interacting with the children at my open houses. And now I've got this book and I'll bring them to my open houses and I usually will give one away when, I'll find one family that I'll give one away and the parents always just light up and it's cool.
Let's talk about the book. So the book is called Welcome Home,
Mhm.
and tell us what it is and who it's for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I created it last year during the pandemic. I was sitting on my couch and I always was struggling to find the perfect gift for the kids on closing day. I like to give gifts on closing day. I'm that kind of agent, the warm and fuzzy agent that not everybody is, but I, lean into who you are. So I love giving gifts and there was nothing out there in the market. I looked, just, basic gifts. So I said, I need to create it. So I sat down and I literally wrote it in one sitting.
Wow.
It's a 28-page book with that Dr. Seussy kind of rhyme thing going on. But
Sure.
basically, it's the journey of a little boy moving, and he's scared to leave his old house. Mom's pregnant and they're moving to a new home. And he just needs a little help. I'll show you a little
Yeah.
picture of him. He's right here. And
Yeah.
he's just like, I'm scared. But the reason I wrote it was I wanted to be able to hand off something. And my vision is for agents to read it right before they hand the keys to the family. And if the child is old enough to open the door with the key, let the child do it and let them be excited about moving into their new home rather than nervous. Because what I've seen is children hanging on to like mom's side for dear life.
Sure.
Like, what are we doing today? And all the attention with the agent typically is eye level with the parents, and the children.
Adult focused. Yeah.
Yeah. And the parent and the kids are just, they're lower because they're shorter and they're not getting the attention. And I really started to clue into that. And I thought, this isn't right. So what I ended up ultimately doing was writing this book with two intentions: was relieving some anxiety for the child, that everything's going to be okay. They're more important than the house.
Yeah.
Home is them, the family, and wherever they go, they're going to be the most important part. And so that's kind of the story and journey of the book. And at the end of the book, there's a place for the agents to send a photo of, how we always take a picture of closing day. And it's usually to promote, look what I just did on social media. So much
Right.
of that in our industry. But how about send it to the family to put in the book, and then they can maybe put their business card at the back of the book. But this book, I guarantee, will not be thrown away or consumed like a bottle of wine. You're not going to wipe your feet on a doormat. The book will go in the kids' room and they'll probably read it over and over and keep it. And ultimately, I think it's going to build a referral network. And when they want to sell the house, they will remember this agent if that agent is still in business. And so there is twofold for the book. It's obviously for the child, and it's for the agent. And I've created the book so that you can purchase it in bulk, so that if you're a busy agent or you're on a team, you will have the book at the ready to, go ahead and get it ready to bring to closing day with the keys. So
I think it makes so much sense, because an agent may, representing a buyer may show up at the day, the key day,
mhm.
and keys are transferred, family moves in, agent goes home, and now all of a sudden, family is now dealing with, oh my gosh, the children or the child is freaked out.
Yeah.
They're anxious. They don't know. This is scary. This is new. This is unknown. And so to be able to provide them with something saying, hey, here's a little guide
Yeah.
for you and for the child, is really demonstrating a high level of consideration and care.
Oh, yeah.
It's very thoughtful, right? It's a very thoughtful idea. And so, you know, I think it is a really smart thing that agents should consider having just with them, saying, hey, are your kids, how are they feeling about the move? Are they
Yeah.
nervous? I've got something for them. I think that in and of itself, like you were saying, it's more of the intangible sort of value that you can provide.
Sure.
Yes, of course, anyone can sell somebody a home, and anyone can negotiate and do all of the things that realtors do. And there's lots of super competent realtors out there. One way to differentiate
Absolutely.
yourself from all of those super competent realtors is also to demonstrate care
Sure.
and
Sure.
thoughtfulness. And I think this book does something that I have really not seen as much of in this industry as I think
Yeah.
it needs to be brought to, is dealing with the move itself,
Yeah.
and how stressful we know that psychologically, on the scale of stressful life events, moving is right up at the
Oh,
top
yeah.
of the highest.
Yeah.
Like, it's up there with with death. It's up there
Death.
with loss of a job. It's very, even if it's a, oh my gosh, we're moving to this amazing place, it's still as
Still stressful.
stressful
Yeah.
as some of the more difficult life events that we all experience. So anything to help make that transition. And of course, realtors are like yourself are so fortunate because you have the ability to help people achieve these wonderful dreams of home ownership, but
Mhm.
also then saying, but I'm also going to guide you, you know, through the process and be there to care for maybe even the children to some small extent by
Right.
providing a book. So I think this is such a smart idea.
Oh,
I'm
thank you so
curious.
much.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I know that like because I just was thinking I moved when, well, I'm going to tell you a story, actually not about me moving. So the last time when I moved, I was 6 years old, and I absolutely could have used uh a book to explain, you know, and but that was, you know, a long
I
time
was
ago.
6 too. I was 6 too. I swear that's so funny that you said that. Weren't you freaked
But
out?
yeah, I was completely freaked out. We were
Me
moving to
too.
another city, and
Yep.
it was scary. And again, I'm sure the realtor who worked with my parents at that time, it probably just that those resources weren't available. So the idea
Mhm.
of even thinking about that is you now have this opportunity as an agent to really provide
Yes.
more emotional support. Because I
Yes.
think what's really cool about technology has allowed the consumer to get access to information to help the transaction itself. So finding a
Mhm.
property, you know, getting the data for schools and crime rates and all of those things. Thankfully, the agent doesn't have to spend as much time doing as they did before, and the agent can then pivot and focus on, hey, but you know, let's talk about how's the stress level, how are you guys doing, how
Right.
are the kids doing. Oh, by the way, I have this book for the children that will help. Like it's a win all the way around, I see.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan. I'm curious.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm curious how you see agents utilizing the book. What's the best way you think agents should, you know, should they give the book to the person
Mhm.
at the closing table? Should it be before then, after then? What are your thoughts?
I my main vision was I see buyer agents or listing agents purchasing it.
Yeah,
Strong, smart listing agents, if they had a really good closing, a good escrow with a buyer agent, might want to leave a copy on the kitchen counter and text the buyer agent saying, thanks so much for an incredible escrow. So glad, you know, we could close on time. I hope the family loves it. If they know a family's moving in, it's a
yeah,
small investment for making maybe another transaction down the road go smooth with that agent. Again, it's a great thank you gift to the other agent. I don't think we do enough thanking of other agents who work really hard to get business done properly and take care of everyone. That's kind of my thought. And the buyer agent could actually bring it to the key day, not closing day, because a lot of times the kid isn't there or the
right,
children.
sure,
So, but a lot of times on key day, if it can be planned when school's out and it's closer to dinner time or whatever, then the keys and the book and whatever other gift they want to maybe have in the kitchen or what the agent's doing, they can read the book on the porch before they open the door for the family to let it be kind of a really cool little moment for the family if they wanted. And then they could hand the key to the kid and let them walk in. That's my vision, but I'm sure agents will do it how they want. But I do see it as a great tool to to utilize your heart to do the right thing for the family moving. It's a big day and it's scary for the kids. And when you said you moved when you were 6, so did I. And I kind of forgot about that when I wrote the book. And then I remembered, wow, wait, I was really pretty young. And I remember hanging onto my mom's like pants or whatever. And she
sure,
was dragging me through the house. And it was a little bit of a fixer upper. My dad found a good neighborhood, a house they could fix up. And I remember my mom telling me, don't touch anything, don't touch anything. And I don't remember the agent at all. Like as a 6-year-old in my memory, I'm trying to
sure.
remember back. Do you remember the agent? Like, I don't remember an agent talking to me or interacting with me. So the presence wasn't there, but how cool if you take a moment to do something for the kids. I think that the parents really, I've had a lot of families pick me because I've showed kindness to the children, whether it's at a community event or my open house. Those are the typical places where I'll meet families. But yeah, the birdhouses have kind of sparked that, and now this book is my new baby. That's I'm hoping to share it with a lot of agents because I think it's needed out there. I think we work in such a fast paced business and we're going from deal to deal to deal, chickens with our heads cut off
Yeah,
mentality. And if we just slow down a little bit and
right.
nurture that one client, and you've got to remember closing day is the beginning, not the end of the road with that client, because they're going to maybe refer you to someone else if you did a good job for them. Maybe they're going to have to move again and then they'll remember you. And a book like this, staying in their house, I think can help do that. I do. So
Yeah, and again, everyone can pick the book up. You can buy it individually or you can buy it in bulk. MonikaStrand.com, Monika Strand.com. If you're
look at
watching us,
show
she's
you.
holding a picture of it. We're going to have a link to it in our show notes as well. But what a great opportunity to provide something that, you're right, isn't a consumable product, right? So
Mhm.
you provide a really nice bottle of wine that gets consumed, eventually thrown away. We want items that will continue to add value
Yeah.
on and on. And books obviously do that. There's of course other ways to do that as well. But I would love to also get your thoughts about, back to just to your real estate practice
Mhm.
specifically. I would love to hear, because, and I think I'd love to hear more about how you feel you differentiate from other agents. Not that maybe you probably don't see them as competition, I'm sure, but how you
Mhm.
see yourself as maybe providing different types of value. I know that, even just thinking about, okay, I have this open house and I have to create some sort of activity for children to be entertained. That is a level of care and consideration. I'm curious if there's other
Mhm.
things that you may do throughout a transaction that
Sure.
is different from what you've seen out there.
Sure. Like I said, my niche right now has really been first time home buyers. I love helping them. And I know some agents necessarily don't. They think it's too much work or it's
Sure.
just going to be a headache. I love the challenge and I love key day. I love, getting them into a single family home. It's like the American dream. It's coming
Right.
true. So taking it from someplace like an open house or a community event where I might have met someone, from their care and kindness, things like making the birdhouse, spending the money on these items they can take, something that's tangible that they can take away. And then they might remember, oh yeah, Monica, I remember her, they're going to remember you if you stand out with kindness. And from there, if I can get them to actually trust me, I always invite them to my office for a one-on-one meeting, which is a pretty standard practice, but I think a lot of agents are missing that step. The
Yeah.
key for me right now is the California contract switched from 10 pages to 16 pages in December. And one of my questions at open houses, I never ask, hey, do you have an agent? I always ask, have you been making offers already, to try to find out if they're working and if they're losing? And if they have, I'm happy to give a little advice, even if they have agents, just for small talk. But if they don't have an agent, I always invite them. If you want to learn a little more about the buying process, running from open house to open house isn't the best way to do it. It's really good to sit down. I love to share a sample of the contract. I know that is like basic 101, but I think a lot of agents right now are missing that. And in this fast paced industry we work, we just assume they know everything we do, and they don't.
Right.
When I share the contract with first time home buyers, we sit down. I did one last night at 5 o'clock at my office. We sat for an hour and chatted. I went over all their, hopes and desires and dreams and let them know, in this crazy market right now, you might have to give up something. And they like that reality check. And then going over the contract, I sometimes tease them. I say, you can treat it like bathroom reading, take it home, read a bunch, take another page, read some more, and then ask me questions. Because in the heat of the battle, when you're at work and you're at work and we need to make an offer at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, you're going to just get the DocuSign, click, 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 click. And now you're making an offer on a home. This business is kind of crazy when it comes to the largest purchase, most likely of your life, coming down to a clickable DocuSign. I mean,
Well,
we have
that
morphed this business, it's
and
crazy.
right, it's crazy. And right now it's, oh, and we need it in the next 5 minutes because
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
15 other offers.
Exactly.
And so I think what you just said is really important. I want to unpack it a little bit because I
Yeah.
think it's really a huge differentiator for you, which is sitting down and saying, hey, before we get into all of this, let me just kind of show you what a contract looks like, and
Yeah.
let's go through it so that
Yeah.
when we do need to make offers, we can do it quickly.
Yeah.
You understand what you're doing. And that's actually a really smart thing to do, because I know too, I recently bought a property, or my primary residence, which I had done before. This wasn't my first time, but it was the largest purchase I had made up
Yeah.
in this point in my life. Um, and even though I'm in the industry and I have a podcast and we have 800 agents here at our company, so you would think I'd be like, I know how everything works. I really don't know how everything works.
We all
Number
never
one,
know.
yeah. Well, that, and it's just an incredibly emotional experience,
Yeah.
where people, no matter what industry they're in, but even if they're in real estate, this is going to be a stressful experience. So this idea that,
Yeah.
people outside of the industry know anything about real estate is,
Yeah. They
you know,
don't.
the extent of what people know is that they know how to go on Zillow, they know how to
Yep.
search for properties, they know
Yep.
how to look at pictures, and they go, that looks cool. and
Yeah.
and and that's I always say, that's what everyone's doing. But the knowledge, the emotional intelligence, the understanding about lending, the understanding about the
Yeah.
attorney, if you're in an attorney state, escrow, all of negotiations, all of those things are probably not known by
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the consumer.
They're not top of mind yet for them until we
Right.
educate them.
Exactly.
I take lots of other little pieces to try to make myself stand out. I'll do things like, once, like last night, I sat down for an hour with some new buyers I met at an open house last weekend. And now they're in the pre-approval phase with one of my preferred lenders. And after that, because people work so much and they're busy, and maybe they have to travel a little bit to the area they want to come and purchase in, I'll do things like, maybe I'll tour the home on my own if it's close to where I am, because this is my area. And I'll take a quick video tour, and I'll text it, I'll video and send it to them and say, hey, does this even interest you? So I'll
Yeah.
save them time. And it makes them know, oh, Monica's thinking about me today. And if they don't like it, great, fine, I saved you time. But if you love it, then I'll say, okay, I need you to be ready today. There's one opening at 5 o'clock. We've got to tour it today, or we're going to lose out. The market here in California is so fast paced. It's absolutely crazy. So, I let folks know, coming to open houses is great to see a few homes, but if you want to get serious, you need to get connected to an agent who's going to show you private tours, so you can walk in and feel, how do I like this house? Does it fit me? Do I like it? And I'll even step out and say, I'm going to let you guys be in there for a minute alone. Just feel the home. And you can't do that during an open house. So
Yeah.
they're like, wow, we never thought of it that way. I was like, you shouldn't have to run around to every single open house. Let me weed out the things that didn't make it on your dream list. And they appreciate that so much. That's a big one.
Definitely. My mind is just spinning from everything you just mentioned. I was thinking, if I was a practicing agent and I saw a property that I thought was really cool or interesting,
Mhm.
whether I'm on a showing or maybe I just go see it on my own, like you were saying, filming that video, and whether you're sending it directly to your customer or your clients, hey, I'm
Mhm.
thinking about you. If this interests you,
Mhm.
let me know. But you can also post that on social media. Say, I love this home. This is really cool. Here's some interesting features.
Mhm.
That's another opportunity too. So sending it to, out on social media, if that's appropriate, or to the
Right.
client, say, hey, so and so, I was just thinking about you. I think this might be a good fit. What do you think? Again, demonstrating care, demonstrating like I'm
Yes.
thinking about you.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the overall theme for your business is I'm thinking about you. And I'll finish it just with this really interesting story that just happened. I'll just love to get your thoughts on it. So
Sure.
I have a friend, and I'll keep this very vague to protect everyone who's involved in this story. But basically, I have a friend who had. This is someone who we'll say it's a he, and he had one of his biggest listings ever, and it was
Mhm.
we'll call it let's say it's a $10 million property. So it's a $10 million property. It was a referral from a client. This was a listing. Uh, the family wanted to sell this $10 million property, which
Mhm.
is obviously an amazing property, probably anywhere in the country. And
Absolutely.
this single family home kind of, scenario. So the listing agent took the listing and found a buyer. And when we're dealing with those kind of high net worth kind of properties, it's not as easy as just throwing it on the MLS, waiting for the offers to
Yeah.
roll in. You have to really go out and find those people who can afford those types of properties, and really seek them out. So this individual did this work. This guy, he did it. He got a buyer, and then on the last day of attorney review, once the contract was in place, the seller got cold feet,
Oh
which
no.
is, yeah, and basically said, I'm out. I want to keep the property. And so this was a massive, a loss to the listing agent. Listing agent said, well, okay, oh well, you win some, you lose some, and the seller
Yeah.
just changed their mind. What the seller did, and this is the part that I wanted to get your opinion on. So the listing agent was going back to the seller to like cancel the listing agreement and just kind of be done with the whole thing. And he was rather licking his wounds, going, oh gosh, I
Mm.
just lost the sale. And the seller changed their mind, and then the listing agent looked at the next door property and said, that's a comparable property. It probably is worth about the same amount of money, and wonder if the next door neighbor might be wanting to sell his property to this other buyer who might want also to buy this property now that the seller on the first property got cold feet. So literally, this agent, he went next door.
Next door.
And well, he actually called. He found out who the owner was. He called the owner and said, you don't know me. I was trying to sell your neighbor's home, and it didn't happen. But I have this buyer, even though it's a listing agent, I have this agent with a buyer who wants a property like this. Would you be interested in selling your property? And for, X amount, 10
XYZ.
million or
Yeah.
whatever. And the owner said, yeah, I think I would. And so all of a sudden now this transaction happens, right?
Yeah.
And what's amazing to me isn't the story itself is great. The listing agent did the right thing, saw another property, called the owner, said, hey, I got a buyer. What do you think? And yes, so that's lesson number one, is of course look around and make those kind of calls. But the second thing, the thing that I was most interested in is, I said, wait a minute, that person used a realtor to buy that property. I don't know how long they lived, neighbor. I don't know how long the neighbor lived in this property, but let's say it's 5 or 10 years. They used an agent to buy that property. How upset, must that agent be who represented the buyer who bought, to now not get the sell side all those years later? And I think what you're talking about is maintaining those relationships in
Mhm.
providing value after the sale for as many years, indefinitely, for the whole
Yes.
lifetime of the
Yeah.
relationship. Because I thought, if you do the math, let's just say maybe the commission is, I don't know, 250,000. I don't know, somewhere in that neighborhood. So imagine losing that, and simply because you didn't reach out to your person that bought this amazing property all those years ago, go, hey, what's going on? Are you happy? Are you thinking of moving? Are you thinking, you
Right.
know, not, I'm assuming that that's probably what happened. And so I just wanted to share that because that is, we hear those stories all the time.
Absolutely. And you never know what the neighbor wants to do. I didn't, it wasn't a $10 million listing. I had one, it was a it was a historical little home and it was around 600K, but it
Yeah.
had commercial real estate scenario, building permit problems. So it was a hard one to sell. But in the open house, I met folks that ended up not offering on it, but I connected with them. And I realized the next door neighbor's house was almost the exact same thing. And sure enough, I sold it. I got that person in next door. And then the guy selling it wanted me to help him buy a house somewhere else. So I ended up getting 3 deals out of just paying attention to the guy next door. So
Amazing.
power of paying attention. But I'm telling you, our brains are so hardwired with so many things to do as real estate agents. It does get to be a daunting task where to spend your time and
Yeah.
who to reach out to. And sometimes we just have to take a deep breath and care about ourselves too, because we
Yes.
can't care about anybody else until we take care of ourselves and just start listening and try to diffuse some of the noise. Cause I know I'm dealing with that myself personally right now. The pandemic really altered, I think, a little bit who all of us are. I don't know if it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like being sent
100%.
home. I'm actually filming right now in my home office I built in my backyard last year because of the pandemic. We got kicked out of our offices and ultimately I ended up building this, which is a great place to do Zoom calls now.
Yeah.
I missed seeing people. So I'm really looking forward to going back to big open houses, community events. I crave seeing people and I've really missed them for the last 2 years. So
I had the same experience last night. I had an old friend reach out who lives here in the city, who I haven't seen many years. In the pandemic certainly did not make that
yeah,
easier for us to get together, and we just haven't got together. And she reached out to me, her and her husband said, "Hey, why don't we get together this weekend?" And I definitely had a little bit of a bigger spark. I mean, I would always want to hang out with these people, but the fact that it came sort of at this time, I
mhm,
think I noticed myself getting more excited than I normally would be, because we are, I think, a little bit,
yeah,
not a little bit, a lot starved, most of us, for interpersonal interaction. And so
yes,
I think
yes,
open houses, events, whether it's, you're having people come to do a volunteer thing or a
mhm,
client appreciation event,
yeah,
or a seminar about how to build, buy your first home,
or
all
a
of
dance
those,
party.
oh, or a
Birdhouse part.
birdhouse.
Oh, I'm telling you, the things I would love to do. And I think maybe I will this year. We need it. I mean, I feel like we've all been pushed down and sent home and for 2 years to reflect on whatever it was we needed to reflect on. And, a lot of sadness and a lot of grief and all kinds of things. And I think I'm just usually a happy person. And I feel like I was pushed down a bit over the last few years.
Yeah.
It's time to come out of our shells again and help one another. And again, I don't like to compete with all the other real estate agents. I'm me, I'm unique and I know it. And so I'm just in my own lane doing my own thing. But if I can help other agents build their business, this is a brand new thing for me. Matter of fact, I didn't even mention my husband and I are the publishers. This is our first book, Storytellers Publishing, because my husband writes books too.
Wow.
So it's sort of like a fun new venture for us. But whatever I can do to help others come out of their shells, start
I
caring again, start doing events, start talking to people. It's like we were in our masks that whole time, and all we could see was their eyes. And
Yeah.
it's nice to start feeling like maybe we can see more people again.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
touch, we can
Yeah.
congregate, we can do these things a
Yeah.
little bit more safely than
Tomorrow I'm doing my first Twilight tour. I haven't done one in years, like actually
wow.
with food and just invite the neighbors, I'm
Yeah, that's
excited,
awesome.
turn it into a little party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your enthusiasm is so infectious, and I
Oh, thanks.
absolutely just think it's the right energy for this time right now. And so everyone, please think about this. You can be a hero, or small hero, big hero, some sort of hero to your, or if not a hero, at least somebody who demonstrates care for a family going through a move, which we know is crazy and stressful and a big pain in the butt for everybody. If you consider giving this gift to the children, which is called Welcome Home. It's a book about moving, helping kids deal and cope with moving, giving the parents a little framework for how to introduce the home to the child. And we're big, big, big fans. You can find the book and order the book, and you can buy it in bulk. Honestly, if it was me, I'd just buy like 50 copies, keep it in my trunk, and hand them out whenever I ran across an agent a family who's in the process of moving. And you can find that at monikastrand.com. And Monika's, again, with a K, Monika strand.com. Also, Monika is an agent, and she is a wonderful agent in the Freeport area. And she is with Compass. And you can also, if you're interested in working with Monika directly, she is absolutely willing to speak with you, whether you're a first-time home buyer, a veteran investor, or somebody who is just looking to work with a top real estate agent to find their next property. What's the best way someone should reach out to you if they're interested in talking with you?
Absolutely. If they are on Instagram, just follow me on Instagram. I'm always there at Monika Strand. Or if you want to email me, Monika, Monika, at compass. Actually, Monika at Monika Strand would be the easiest. I have 2 emails. So it's my name and then my name, Monika at Monika
Monika at monikastrand.com. Yeah, we will put those links in our show notes as well. Monika, thank you so much for being on our show. We had such a fun time with you. On behalf of our audience, I want to thank Monika for her time, and also hope there's more books to come. I think you could create a whole series around this. So
I have some ideas.
I'm sure you do. And on behalf of Monika and myself, we want to say thank you to our audience as well. And please remember to always, the best way you can help us is to support our sponsors, as well as by telling a friend. Think of one other real estate agent that could benefit from hearing this great interview with Monika. Send them a link to our website. keepingitrealpod.com is our website, or you can find us anywhere podcasts are served. Just send it over, Keeping It Real, to a friend and have them hit the subscribe button. Monika, thank you so much. And we will see everybody on our next episode. Thanks, Monika.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.